did not hear me before, we're in Blender. We have our cup that should be part of the little package in the description of the video whenever we upload it. We are adding a modifier, which you can find with this little wrench icon to the side. And we're adding a multi-res modifier. So that's under generate, multi-resolution. The reason we're doing this is so that whenever you can make high detailed changes, and then they will carry over down as you reduce the poly count, which makes it useful for game engines because it's cheaper to run. So we've subdivided it 3 times. You can see now that it looks a little bit more like a traditional mug, not as blocky, right? So now we're going to go into sculpting mode. So here you have sculpting, and I'm going to go over a little bit of your pen control so you can get around a little easier. For me, this is going to be a little bit awkward because of my setup here, but it should be a little easier for the rest of you. So with your pen, you should have the ability to middle click. Click on the top part of your pen right there and drag around. That should middle click. If it's not, I can walk you guys through how to change it. It takes like a minute. It's pretty easy. Make sure you're holding down this little top button on your pen. Should be the one closest to where the pen point is. You hold that down, you click, and you should be able to rotate it around. Yours is not working. What's it doing? Okay. So what we might want to do is go to the Wacom tablet properties on your computer. This should have been installed with your driver when you got it. So look up on your start menu, Wacom tablet properties. It'll bring you to this menu right here. And then you can change what your buttons do with this right here. So how many buttons does that pen have? 2, good, okay. So you're just going to want to make sure your bottom button, the one closer to the pen tip, is set to clicks, middle click, and then your top one is set to clicks, right click. I'll pause here and wait if there are any questions. Raise your hand if you need help. All good? All right. Now, if we go back in, we click this bottom button, we should be able to move around, right? Make sure you can do that. All right, nice. So now we can get started with sculpting. So when you can do this to change your view, so that's just middle clicking, right? Then you can hold shift and middle click to move and pan like that. Right? And then you can hold control and middle click to zoom. And that's moving up and down like forward and backward. Right? So I'm doing shift and middle click. I'm just doing middle click, and then I'm doing control and middle click to zoom. All righty. So those are our basic movement controls that'll make getting around in the 3D viewport a little bit easier. So now I'm going to actually, I can do this real quick. Come on. Come on. Okay. Oh, no. There we go. Now you guys can actually read what these are. So these are all our different brushes for sculpting. Our basic one is the draw brush. So that's all that's going to do is push out some stuff. You'll see here that my little blue circle I have is very big. What I want to do is scale that down. That can be done with this radius tab right here, or you can hit the F key and scale it down by moving the cursor slower. All right, so that's the radius here, or hitting the F key and moving it around. You tap to select, and now you have a new brush. Everybody good with that? All right, I see nods. So I'm going to make my brush a little smaller, and then I'm just going to start drawing away at this. I'm just going to kind of get creative with it. At this point, just kind of see what all the brushes do, experiment around. If you have any questions on what something does, let me know. One other important note is that no matter what brush you're using, you can hold down Shift and smooth. So Shift will activate the smooth brush no matter where you are. What did I say was smooth? It's all right. All right, so we'll go over some basic ones here. That was draw. Another important one is grab. So what grab will do is I can just, I have a bigger one here. It's a little bit easier. So anything within this little yellow circle, I'm going to grab and move. So I can kind of stretch that and move it. All right, and kind of get real funky with the shape here. Rotating is just middle click like this. I'm just holding down this little pen button at the top and I'm moving my cursor.
Yeah. So go to.
Should be clicks, middle click. There you go. Now you got it. Nice.
What was the other button supposed to be?
Right click. It doesn't really matter. We don't use it too much. Well, actually, we'll use it for texture painting. So you might want to change it to right click. Alrighty. Yeah, just kind of play around with it for a little bit. I'll let you guys just experiment. Make a cool cup. That's your goal. Right. All right. So we got some other ones. I'll go over the blob one here. This is just going to add little bubbles to my mesh. So I can make this a little bit smaller. And then I'll add a bubble there. And then a little bubble there.
Oh, yeah. It's right there, yeah. It's right in front of me. Yeah. Oh,
if you ever find your mesh getting a little bit too thin and stretched out, you can always use the inflate brush to kind of blow it up. And if you find any pinches, you remember to smooth.
I did do it. I mean, we spend but that could be so that it is one jack.
Oh yeah. Another essential tip. So if you hit the control key while using a brush, it will do the opposite of the brush's effect. So I'm going to draw real quick, right? See, I'm pushing out right now. If I hold control down, I'm going to dig in. Right? So you can use that to do the reverse. So like I can inflate becomes deflate. I can inflate now, and then I can start deflating. That'll flatten that out. Crease, let's me do creases, but control crease will kind of push it out. You can always smooth something if you get pinched, that pinch sort of mesh right there. Remember, smooth is holding down shift. And yeah, just kind of play around with it. A lot of this stuff below a snake hook, you really don't need to worry about. I wouldn't mess with that. Most of what you're going to want to worry about is this these yellow and blue and red ones up here.
10 out of 10.
With only this.
All right, guys, I think it's time to move on to texture painting. Take all your very beautiful cups, I'm sure. We'll move them over. But if you have basically a cup that's just a spiky mess, then you can just go back to the normal cup, reload the Blender project, add a multi-res, and you'll be all good. Oh, it's not shading. So we go to texture painting. You should all see this view, black cup. Should be the texture paint tab up here, just like sculpting. Oh yeah, it's already.
Okay. I must. Oh my God.
No, it's already baked into the project.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'll go over that real quick.
UV unwrap the thing?
Yeah, that was UV unwrap before you did it.
Okay.
I just wanted to do the sculpting and the texture painting. I didn't want to get bogged down in all the technical details. Yeah. So is everyone good on this? We got black cups. Are you stuck somewhere?
Where'd you go?
Texture paint right here at the top.
Oh,
There you go. You got it. Everyone good? We all good? All right. So texture painting. What we're going to do here is we're going to paint on the cup, and that's going to map over to this 2D texture. So I have about an image here that's going to get wrapped onto the cup. If I hit tab A, you'll see where the cup is lined out over here, the UVs. So you should all have this, right? So what I did there was I went tab to go into edit mode, and then I hit A to select all the vertices, right? And you should all have this. So and when I paint on the cup, I can tab back out here. You'll see that all those things are still there. When I paint on the cup, it's going to show up on that texture. You'll see that there's now a little white spot right here. I'll kind of paint this out here. You'll see it pop up on the cup. Right.
Click the.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
Kind of a technical question. Why is it that when we press tab, all the sculpting guys work?
Because what you're doing is all of your sculpt, this is why we use the multi-res modifier, is because all of your sculpting is done inside this modifier. And that means that you can undo later to reduce your amount of detail. So what we'll do later is we'll do unsubdivide when we're done. And then that'll take us back, not all the way to the beginning, but most of the way. And then we will bake that thing down. So we'll have something that's not as high res, but still more high res than it was.
Okay. So does edit mode show you something independent of your modifier?
Yes, edit mode shows you the base, like actual saved object information.
Okay, cool.
So it's just the vertices, the edges, the faces, all of that. That's in edit mode.
Hey, Mitch.
Yes.
So can you only paint like colors on those textures, or can you paint like other types of textures?
Yes. So we're going to get to that. So right now we're doing diffuse maps. So that's just the color. When we go into, we can go to the shading tab here. You'll see on this principled shader, we have a couple other things. We have our base color. That's what we're painting now. We can also paint maps for how metallic an object is. So let's say you have like a chest, right? A chest has wood, and it has metal on it. That metal can be rough in some places or more shiny in some places. So for that, we'd have a base color. We draw like our wood. Then we'd have a metallic where we did where all the metal is. Then we would do a roughness map for where it's rough and where it's shiny. We'd probably have the wood be pretty rough too. And then say you have something that glows, right? You can do an emission map for where things glow. And so you can do all these different layered texture maps, and they will come out to make a very beautiful image at the end.
Another question.
Yes.
When you unsubdivide a mesh, if it's like a really high polygon count, or whenever I unsubdivide it to about 10%, the mesh like completely disappears. You know how to like get to like the point where like, it's like good enough or whatever to not be like too laggy, but at the same time, like, the mesh just completely doesn't disappear.
Yeah. So what you're going to want to actually do is take one version of your mesh, have it with a multi-res modifier, so you can unsubdivide it a little bit. That's going to be basically your cheap mesh that's going to be in the game. Then you're going to want another one that is just subdivided that you've sculpted, and you would basically just duplicate and switch up the subdivisions because all the base geometry will still be there. And then what you can do in if you go up here, go to Cycles Rendering Engine, you'll have this option here called baking. And what baking will allow you to do is you can bake your detail from a very high poly model onto a texture that you can put onto a low poly model. Yeah, so that's normals here. We can also do normals. I didn't get into that. But normals, I'll actually go ahead and do a normal map real quick. Hold on. All right. I'll map that normal, and I'll make a new image texture. So what I've done here is I've made a texture for the normals, and that's going to run into a bump node, which is basically converting height information, which height information is black and white. So it's like white for up high and then black for down low, right? And then it's going to turn that into a normal map, which basically mixes like all different kinds of colors, like red, greens, and blues, to get like all like 8 omnidirectional things of like where the light is heading. So what you can do, like imagine there was a little screw or something, right, on the side of this that was kind of popping out a little bit, just like a little screw head. Well, the normal would say is based on what color is here, which way should I shade this? So if it's red here and then green down here, it knows, okay, I should shade this like lighter because the light's hitting it from the top, and then shade this green part darker because that's where the shadow should be, right? So we're converting our height information into that normal information with this node. So all we have to really worry about is our height. So whether we want something up high or down low, makes it a little simpler. So I'll show you what this is like in a second. It's a little easier than you might be thinking. So first we'll save our cup. This is our normal. Let me switch back to our diffuse. Yes, we can. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this paint bucket, pick my color, make it like a mid-gray value, and make it so that it's a mid-gray value. So now it's all sort of middle. It's not, I can go up or down now. I can go to this, and then I can kind of paint. Why is this? No, it's not normal. Up normal in shading should be going into the normal thing. Oh, that's why, because I'm a dummy. I'm a dummy. I'm a big dummy. Okay. Go to material preview. If you hold down Z, you'll be able to switch your thing. So you want to just go to material preview here. So Z, material preview, Z, material preview, just so everyone knows. All right, now you'll see what I did here. This is the little bump out, right? So where I'm putting white, it's going to bump out. You see a little bump there? So, and then if I do black, it'll dig in. Yeah, exactly. You'll see here that it'll kind of dig in. So you can use that to add a lot more detail than you would expect. And all that, and that it's still flat. There's no actual geometry that's been changed there. That's just, it looks like there's something there. So if you ever seen like an ARM in an FPS game or like a AAA title, usually it's got all this detail, right? How they do that. It's just this exact thing. They're just doing a normal map. Yes.
So could you take your regular diffuse map and then just desaturate it and up the contrast instead of
Not exactly, no. Because what your diffuse is doing is it's doing color and your normal is mapping. I'll show you what a normal map looks like. Hold on. Might have to stop sharing and then just share the whole screen. There we go. No. See, this is what a normal map looks like.
Yep.
So you wouldn't want to just transfer your color over because like here's an example, right? This is what our actual color looks like. It's all gray. This is what our normal looks like, right? So it's saying, okay, we're all these different colors and mixing, which way is it going to shade this? So this is basically the base mesh with just the colors. This is the normal map, and then this is them put together. That's how much impact it can have, right? This is your normal, your base map with just the color, and then that's your both together, right? Alrighty. And you can see here, there's the example, right? We have greens and blues up here on the top, and then we have reds towards the bottom. So that's where we want to make it shadowy, and this is where we want to make it more highlighted. Now we can go back in here. And so, yeah, that's the basic idea is you can make, basically I can have a texture for my color, and I could have a texture for my normal, and we can go back in here, we can have a texture for metal, roughness, emission, all these different texture maps, and you can bake those together into a material, and you'll have a very complicated, a very nice looking mesh. Looks way better at high details. So yeah, so at this point, yeah, just kind of paint your cup however you'd like it. I'll be going around just like sculpting and answering any questions. But yeah, that's the general gist. I go to the texture pane, I'll paint my cup and do a little commentary while I do it for the people watching online. So I'm going to do cup diffuse here. I'm going to make these bigger, make this white. What's that?
Okay, so go to your actual. Try that. Oh, that one. If you want to, you're on. Are you trying to paint on your texture or? Oh, okay, that's. So if you go to.
So right now I'm just painting my cup, making it green and yellow and maybe some blue.
You can go to texture on here. So it's the texture.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to.
Yes.
Turn up the alpha on the brush.
Turn up the alpha, like the opacity.
It's like a lot softer.
You should be able to do something with the strength. That'll make it stronger. And also make sure you, if you have this little checkbox here, that's pin pressure. That means the harder you press down, the more like pressure you'll get. And an important thing to note about that is this is your maximum with pin pressure. So that's when you're pushing down as hard as you can. You have a question? No, okay. All right. So I've got this there's three colors here, but I kind of want to mix them a little bit more. So I'm going to use the soften brush here, which is this little paint drop right there. That's going to kind of blend these two colors together. It's a little laggy, but it will blend the colors together, as you're seeing. I have less of a harsh line here. This is very useful. And then I kind of want to spread the color around a little bit on this handle part. So I'm going to use the smear brush, which is this finger. And I'm going to use that to kind of smear the paint.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So
it's
which,